Jen Frazier, CEO, founder of Firefly Partners. I'm here with another episode for Real Talk. This is it. This is the place for the real talk for all of our friends in the nonprofit world, tackling all the things, technology, outreach, challenges, strategies. What are we doing? How can we make this work a little bit better? That's what we're here for, to help our friends do the work a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently. This is the space we've created every week to have a guest on from the space, help us untangle some of the snarly, gnarly threads of crazy that have been gotten tangled up. We're going to kind of try and smooth some things out, help create some clarity, help create some pathways to what can I do when I'm overwhelmed and don't know which way to move. So today, helping us untangle what I like to call the mess behind the mission is longtime friend, great person in the space, Ben Freda. Ben, thank you for being here.
Super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me. The legendary UnTangled.
Legendary. That's what I think people are already saying.
In a short time, you've become a legend already.
It's already legendary. Right. Ellen Krause wrote and today she's like, I think this is where all the cool people are hanging out. I'm like,
I mean, look at who's here. Duh. Yeah.
Okay. So Ben is the founder of BFC Digital, doing digital for nonprofits. That's, websites all the way to AI, lots of things in between. If it's digital, we should talk about that with our friend Ben. So today we're going to talk about how to get behind the hype, get away from the crazy, and come down to reality and help clear a path to AI adoption for your organization, which I know is a topic that a lot of people are really eager to hear more about. So Ben, we're going to jump in. First of all, give everybody out there, all of our, again, the fans, the masses, a little bit more background about you, your background, how you got here, the work you do.
Sure. Yeah, totally. I'll do the background, I guess, first. I live in New York City. I moved here for law school, actually, and was a lawyer for a couple of years, which was fine.
We still like you. We still like you.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. But it was fine, but also exceptionally boring. So I jumped ship and started working with my high school friend, Ryan Osmick, who many of you might know from PicNet. And then went out on my own in 2010 to do web design and development for nonprofits, and have been doing that since then for all kinds of small nonprofit clients, small, medium-sized nonprofit clients, helping them with web technology, and now starting to do some AI work as AI has, begun to take over the conversation. So we're trying to help, our clients who are alternatively freaked out and anxious, and also motivated and excited about the prospect of the technology, trying to figure out the mess, untangle that mess of, to use the word that you coined. So start to untangle what the reality of AI adoption is now in for nonprofits, how it can be used, how it should be avoided, and that kind of stuff. So awesome. Super excited to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on some things that I've been hearing in different conversations for many months. Obviously, this has been, it's not like it's a new topic, but I do think that obviously we talk about new technologies and those sort of like waves of adoption and sort of what happens when new technologies show up and how audiences and groups interact with new technologies and the waves of adoption and the stages you go through, like excitement, interest, fear, anxiety, like all these different things are happening. And they're all right now simultaneously washing over us, where we're like, oh, we're excited. Oh, wait, I'm anxious. Oh, wait, blah, blah. I should do this. Oh, wait, I know, like most of us, our feeds, our inboxes are just filled with mine, I think I probably sifted through like 30 messages alone just this morning as I'm like, okay, here's my coffee, get through my inbox of like,
right,
we're super behind. You haven't done all the things. If you don't have 20 agents working for you already, you might as well just bring it up, like blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, and then it's like, don't use AI. The devil is, running the world and blah, blah. You're like, like, what do I do? And it's overwhelming for me. And I live and breathe in this space. And then it's got to be really overwhelming for folks who are not as, fluid or conversant or like living in the tech space all day long. And obviously most of you are out there doing actual like life-saving critical work. So there's all these messages coming in. So what we're trying to do maybe is like help us like sift through some of that. What are What are the ways in which you help your clients right now sift through this and come out with some bits of clarity and helping them understand what should they be doing right now?
So we hear the same exact thing, which is people are getting two different sort of megaphone type messages about AI. Number one is, if you're not using it already, you are years behind. And that is not true. And then on the other hand, you get messages like, you shouldn't be using AI because it is going to consume all the planet's energy and heat us out of house and home and ruin everything we've built. Which and there are risks, there certainly are risks, but that extreme is probably not true either. The truth is, there's something in the middle that I think is sort of a rational approach for people. So here's what we're advising people to do. And this is something you can hire someone to help you with, or something you can do completely on your own, depending on your level of comfort with the technology, your level of free time. Obviously, all of us are super busy. But there's a couple of things we advise people to do. And the first one is really, it is worth spending a couple of hours getting an AI training to understand what this technology is. If if you've ever heard the phrase LLM or large language model, that is one of the aspects of generative AI that has caused a whole lot of this opportunity and panic at the same time. You've also got image generation, video generation, you've got deep learning, a bunch of other things. If you can get an hour or two of training and really understand how these models work, you will have a bunch of instincts that'll help you sort of know when using AI is a good idea and when it might be risky. So as an example, most people know that LLMs will give you text, right? Like we're talking about ChatGPT, we're talking about Claude. You ask it a question, it'll give you some text. So that is essentially a mathematical predictive model. What it's trying to do is use its predictions, use its understanding of having absorbed all the words in the world. If you look at a sentence, all it's trying to do is predict the next word in the sentence. And then it just does that over and over again. So if you know sort of more, and that's too quick and too glib and stuff, and there's all kinds of complications, but
it's a good high level though take.
Yeah. If you know that, hey, this model is just predicting stuff and it's been built to not give the same prediction every time, you start thinking, oh my gosh, it might not be factually right all the time, right? Because it's just predicting word to word. It might, for instance, spin out because it's using its own output as the input for the next word.
Right.
So you can understand how these hallucinations might occur, or how
it's a little bit of a circle. It's a little bit of a closed loop situation happening over there.
There's a ton more to learn about it and much more complication, but it'll just give you these like light bulb insights of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't use it to research the most, complicated, rare disease in the world, because maybe it won't have a good set of probabilities in terms of predicting the next word, but it probably knows that the first president was George Washington, because that predictive stuff.
Basic,
Yeah.
So the other thing is because it's basically, like you said, it's sucked all this information out of what's publicly available, and it's using that as sort of the base of foundational knowledge. But obviously, we should put out there that obviously we know there's a lot of garbage.
There's a ton of garbage
here, so it's like garbage in, garbage out. It's only as good as what it's absorbing. So we obviously always want to make that little caveat of like, okay, also it's learning from what it's got, and what it's got isn't always the most amazing and accurate information out there, especially right now. I'll just say that out loud. A lot of misinformation happening.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, it's learned its probabilities based on the text that exists out on the internet.
Yeah.
And a lot of text out on the internet is BS. You know what I mean? And so
everything you read isn't true. What?
You might not. Yeah, you might not. Plus, you can start to intuit, if you understand a little bit about how it works, you can start to intuit some of the ethical issues that arise from it. So for instance, bias. People talk about bias in the AI models. It's not about how they've been coded. It's that there's bias in the underlying texts. So all across the internet, there's all kinds of bias. So if you, for instance, I haven't done this in about 6 months, but 6 months ago, if you asked ChatGPT to generate a drawing of a lawyer, it would give you 9 times out of 10, a 35-year-old white guy with a 5 o'clock shadow. That's what it thought lawyers are. Now, most lawyers are not white
That.
guys with 5 o'clock shadows. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is it would say, if you asked it to give someone did a study on this at Harvard, and they asked it to give them a drawing of a judge. And 9 times out of 10, the judge was male, but only 55% of the judges in the country are male. So it's just, but on the internet, people think they are, you know what I mean? Because people are biased. So if you start to understand how these models work, how they get how it's a probability based system, and how it builds its probability based on what's out there, you can start to intuit some of the biases that might exist, ways you might want to double check things, etc. So step 1 is do an hour or 2 of quick, training / understanding on how these LLMs are built, how ChatGPT works, how Claude works, what are the levels of software that are running there, just so you can kind of get these intuitions in place. So that's the first thing we try and advise people to do. Once you've got that in place, the second thing we try to advise people do is do a bit of like an AI / blueprint / strategy project, where what you're really trying to do, and that you can use AI in all kinds of different ways. But I think a good way to start, if you're looking to really just start, is to try and find ways that these tools can save you time. So you really focus on that the productivity angle of using AI. Some people use it to write blog posts and all that kind of stuff. So that's a different topic. But I think the best way to sort of get into it is ask around, ask your staff, dig into what the staff is doing that is boring, what the staff is doing that is repetitive, what the staff is doing that they hate doing, right? Because those are the things that are going to be often things that are going to be good for a machine or a tool to do. So for instance, deduping donor lists or something, taking a whole bunch of, after an event, let's say you have a bunch of surveys that have been written on a piece of paper, right? You have 100 surveys written on a piece of paper, survey responses, and you need to put it into some kind of system where you can analyze it, that kind of stuff. That is stuff that your staff is going to be like, gosh, I do not want to do this. It's boring. It's repetitive. It's stupid. It doesn't involve any creativity. It doesn't involve any deep thought or understanding. It's stuff that I need to spend 20% of next week doing that is just boring. So the question, and it sounds silly or glib,
but it also is like it's like when your team, who are smart, creative, and passionate folks, to your point, end up spending a good chunk of their day and their weeks and months on these sort of like rote, brain dead type of time. It's actually a little bit demoralizing time for your staff, where they're like, I don't want to do this. It sort of takes some of the fire out of them being there a little bit. And not that we all don't have to do some of these things, but this is again thing where there's a glimmer here of like, oh, maybe there's a possibility of AI tools helping alleviate. At least that's my deepest hope and dream. I do some of it, but I probably don't even haven't adopted it as much as I should, preaching to my own choir. Of all the processes. Like it takes a little bit of time. And so that's the other thing here. It takes a little bit of time.
And those, for me personally, I mean, I've started to use it to do invoices, because at the end of every month, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to spend 6 hours the next day, like going through it's so boring and I hate doing it. I have sort of an emotional response against doing it too. I don't like billing people. So, and so I'm thinking, well, now there are these tools that will help me cut, I still have to spend an hour doing it, but I don't have to spend 6 hours anymore. And the good thing about, I think, doing an AI blueprint project where you try and identify these boring, rote, horrible, machine-ready, non-human tasks that people are doing, it does help get your staff too on the same page in terms of adopting these tools. A lot of people are going to be resistant to, at least internally, to the idea that we're going to have technology take over some of your job. You know what I mean? And we don't want to do that. That's not what the technology is best used for. The technology is best used to do the things that people hate doing, to help keep them doing the stuff they like to do, the motivating stuff where they're actually helping.
Thing up here in your head is better than like spreadsheet entry.
Yeah. Spreadsheet entry is
more than that and stuff like that. And this I think the other piece we just touched on is stuff that Brad and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, was like this idea that it's going to take your job. No, it should enhance your ability to do more creative things in your job by taking some of the stuff out. So you're going to do a blueprint. You're going to go, okay, great. You've asked your staff, how do you pick the right things to start with?
Yeah. So we generally, when we're doing blueprints like this, we're trying to find 2 or 3 processes that can be improved, made more efficient, maybe even eliminated by adoption of these tools.
Okay.
And then for each of them, it's not an exact science, but for each of those little projects or processes, you think, all right, what would the benefit be to automating this, and what would the cost be? So for a lot of these, you think, all right, this is going to save me 20 hours a month. This is going to save me 40 hours a month. This is going to save me 5 hours a month. You can try and quantify that. Most of the time, there will be you'll still have to spend some time doing stuff. AI, despite the hype you might hear, AI is not good enough to do stuff on its own. It just isn't good enough. It doesn't know what to do. It mess up. It's the hype about it taking over the world is insane to me. But anyway, that's a different topic. But you're still going to need to do some oversight. You're still going to need to do some. But I would try and identify like 2, 3, 4 of those processes that would be applicable, and try and quantify time saved, and try and quantify time/expense to actually implement AI-based automation for that particular process. And then you'll very quickly be able to pick them off. Like this one is the best one. We're going to move to the next one, do the next one. And,
I think what happens is once you go into it, all these other possibilities start to surface. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I see. I think like right now, I do think there's a lot of folks who are stuck in sort of like, all it does is like give you copy or whatever. Yeah. And like, no, like the possibilities are obviously endless. But even in this sort of like, we're trying to do like discrete task oriented solution, blah, blah, blah. There's tons of different ways you can apply the tools. And the other piece that we didn't talk about, we skipped over, was sort of like that it's getting more baked into tools that you are already using. And you might not know that feature is actually now in the tool you're using. And it's like taking the time to stop and also inventory the tools you're already using for some of these tasks. And be like, oh, dude, I didn't even know that they rolled out. Because how many of us go to every single product release call? No. Then of every tool that you're using inside your organization, right? And then you're like, oh, they've actually already built in a way, because they know that this stuff is also the worst stuff anybody wants to spend time on, and so they've built it in. And so it may be as much as just learning how to use the sort of AI, which again is like such an umbrella term that kind of also makes me crazy. The tools that have been built in, the features that have been built into your tool that are already helping automate certain processes already, that like they've already identified within their platform. These are the pain points of our users. These are the things that they already need to make more efficient. So it may not be these outside tools and processes that come in. It could be something that's already baked in.
And that is also speaks to like why we don't advise people to like go and do a huge AI project. Don't do that. Right. Find little tiny chunkable processes that you can break off and spend a little bit of time to optimize, because things are changing so quickly, and there may be some automation that is about to be rolled out in Salesforce, for instance, that would just solve your problem. So don't build a huge, some people think that you need to somehow, allocate $500,000 and get your organization.
Yeah, make some custom process, blah, blah, blah for your org. Like,
don't do it, because it's going to change in next year, the year after, or whatever. So just, do the training first, do the blueprint, try and identify 2, 3, 4 of these processes, these little processes that you can optimize.
Right.
Then go through and knock off a couple of them if you can. And at that point, and I know we might disagree on this is after the first time you do this process, and you're meant to repeat this, but anyway, after you do that the first time, then it's time to put an AI use policy into place, right? This is something that people talk about, freak out about, want to have. It's a good idea to have one. A use policy is, a document that is propagated through the organization that'll help your staff know what to use AI for and what to avoid using AI for.
Yeah.
And there are some obviously ethical and legal and practical issues related to the use of AI. So you want to have some guide rails in place. Just as an example, one of the things that can help light a fire under some people to put this together is what we talked about earlier, which is that people already are using AI tools in their job. I guarantee you somebody at your organization, probably most people at your organization, have used ChatGPT to help with their work. There's all kinds of studies on this. Something like 70% of the workforce of America is using ChatGPT. They are probably using the free version. unless your organization is paying for it, they're probably using the free version. And the problem is the free version will remember whatever they put in there. So if they're putting in, for instance, donor lists to help dedupe the donor list, all the information about your donors is now in ChatGPT, which maybe is fine. But if you've
I don't think it's ever fine. Let's just go. That's not really.
Doesn't seem that fine.
Bad.
You've probably given the model, the email addresses or the physical addresses of your top donors. That could be a problem.
No, not a good idea ever. No.
And so what you need to know is that is probably happening right now, and so you probably want to have a document that says, if you're going to use ChatGPT, use the paid version, right? Or have an organizational version, so you can make sure that whatever you put in there isn't remembered by
stays in your workspace. Really, that's the key. It doesn't go out. It doesn't get sucked into the Borg of all the learning and all that stuff. So someone could say, searching for it, people go, well, I put it out there, and then what is someone going to go, give me the name of blah, blah, blah. They're not going to know these people, but the information is out there and is searchable, is findable. Obviously, we know all the folks that are using the technology, not for maybe the most good purposes. They're doing a little nefarious stuff. You may have known that there are some folks doing nefarious things with technology. What?
Sometimes
they don't want to. You don't want to give them any more information than they already are able to get through their crazy means. So you don't want to give it to them, unnecessarily and without any guardrails on it. So I was saying, my argument was, I think people need to put an AI policy in place right away, but it is you need to know what you're talking about before you just jump into trying to create an AI policy. It's true, but I would say at the very least, have some very basic guardrails even before you're doing this inventorying. And you will actually, part of that inventorying of your staff is probably asking who's already using it.
Yeah. And what they're using it for. Yeah.
What are you using it for? Mm-hmm. What tools specifically are you using, and are using the free version, blah, blah, blah. Those kinds of things. You need to know that immediately right now. I would say it's a first thing as you're trying to put together an inventory of things you can do inside your organization and all that, and identifying those small blueprint projects Ben's talking about. But I would be first of all, let's try to I know the horses are already out of the barn. I get it. But maybe you could put a couple of them in a fenced area. You can still put up some fencing around them while they're out, running wild, and maybe kind of corral them back into a fenced area. So
totally. And it's not the most, it doesn't have to be a complicated, terrible enterprise or thing you have to do.
That's some novel, you just need a basic policy.
If you have some private information, you don't want that private information shared, that kind of stuff. You may have other ethical issues too with these tools do consume some amount of energy. You may not want to, you might consider some uses of that energy, write me a poem about my dog or something. You might consider that not worth it, but you might consider the use, maybe saving someone's life or something is more worth the energy that it uses. So you might have a threshold or something, but it's not got to be a complicated thing. It's also should be a living document that you as you go through this process. And we're talking about training, then the blueprint strategy, and then taking these little projects and doing them, and then refining your AI use policy. Start over, do it again.
It's not static at all, and never will it be, because this is just going to be this changing amorphous thing that keeps, iterating, and we're going to have to stay with it. So I definitely think a living document is key. And then kind of remembering to tell new staff and orient and onboard new folks to it, and making sure everybody's up to speed on it, kind of as a constant reminder of how the world is changing, and then how the tools are changing, and that may impact what you have in your use policy. So it's a living, breathing. So what else? What's the next thing? What's your last step for people in this crazy adoption process?
Well, I mean, do a couple of those projects that you can bite off, and then do it again.
Do it again. And step one.
Do another blueprint. Do some more analysis. Try and find another process people hate doing in your organization, and take it off their hands using the technology, and then refine the AI use policy again, and then just keep rolling. I mean, just keep trying to do it. And it's not and what are you going to get out of this process? Well, you're going to, there's tons of examples, right? Deduping lists, we've talked about a million times. That's an easy one. There's a trillion, right? What do people hate doing? They hate taking physical writing and turning into digital writing. They hate, maybe there's an editing process that you do that takes forever, that you have to send it to 5 different people, but maybe the AI can help streamline that. Maybe there's a process where, you've got to take, like in my case, I've got to take time that we spend in one system and put it into another system and calculate the money for the invoices, which takes forever. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that are just things that you do as a daily part of your job that you don't realize, oh my gosh, this could just be taken off my hands. And it not only will save you time, but in my case with invoicing, I've found that it's more accurate as well, which is a weird one, because the things I hate doing are the things I rush through, and I don't double check. And I've had to be very careful to see what the AI is spitting out.
That's it. I was going to say, it's all the warning bells go off for me when, sometimes AI can be, and the machines can be more accurate, but
but you got to check it.
The people, like we said before, it's always people first, technology second. But this is an example of where we can like really lean into some of these tools. We wanted today to kind of give you some practical like guidelines and just some steps of like, it doesn't have to be complicated. It shouldn't be you shouldn't have AI trying to come in and help solve the most complicated, problem that your organization is
facing.
That's the wrong approach. Like, oh, great, AI is going to solve this thorny thing we all couldn't get through. No, not first anyway. Like, that's this is like a start to crawl, start to sit up straight, start to like whatever, before you even stand up and start walking. Like, you've got some things that need to happen as we all learn how to use the tools more effectively. Again, learning this balance of like people to machines, and where is it? You don't want to just put all your trust in machines.
No.
You want to put all the burden back, on the humans. It's a balancing act in there. So we need to find that right balance, and you need to find the right balance for your organization. So I know we're running out of time. Ben, thank you so much for the practical tips of just how to help folks take a breath, get out of the panic. No one is being left behind. Don't, say, well, whatever, I haven't got 15 agents working 24 hours a day for me today. I'm way behind. I might as well just give it up, and I can never get back on top of the curve. Like, the waves come, just get in there where you can. We all know that all of you are doing a million other jobs and like trying to like stay on top of or research or understand and find the right things. It's too much. Sometimes you're like, I just need someone to help me. Again, there could be a couple cool, eager folks inside your team also that you could appoint to be like, I'm going to carve out 10, 15% of your job to just be our little like AI scouts. And you're going to help them carve a little time off their plates to start being your, like, let's go look at some of these things and help your team start to take on some of these small projects and see how you can start to adopt some of these tools to create some efficiencies inside your organization. Great tips. Ben, any last takeaway you want to drop for people?
No, I think you're right about taking a breath. I mean, you're going to see all this stuff about how you're behind in AI and you've got to hurry up. If you hear that, it's probably trying to stress you out so you buy something. Don't worry about that. And then on the other end, yes, there are ethical concerns about AI. Yes, there are energy concerns about AI, but it's probably still a tool worth looking at. In terms of your job. So try and avoid those, just as we talk about in political discourse, try and avoid those extremes and find the truth in each and move sort of through the middle with a little bit of confidence and a little bit of calm. I think you'll be in good shape.
Awesome. Cool. Ben Freda, thank you so much for all of your insights today.
Thanks for having me. Super fun.
Loved it. This will be available again. Look for it on our website. I'll post it on LinkedIn again. And next Thursday, after the long holiday break, I hope everybody enjoys a little bit of time off. I'm going to be joined by Kathy Renna, who is the communications director for the National LGBTQ Task Force. And we're going to just take a break from all the tech, really. And we're going to talk about what does it mean to be doing advocacy in an LGBTQ organization in terrifying times right now.
Right. So I will be tuning into that.
It's going to be a good and exciting conversation there as well. Can't wait to hear from Kathy. But Ben, thank you so much for your insights today. Really appreciate it. And hope everybody out there has a great rest of your day.